Okay, so some people may not be familiar with your story. I know they're going to be so interested in hearing about this, especially given what we've been talking about on this show for the past month now. But first, I want to ask you just a basic question. If you don't mind my asking, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 30 years old.
And I know, my audience is thinking, Liz, that's a rude question to ask a lady, but it's pertinent to this story, I promise. So the background of your story is when you were a child and a teenager growing up, was your family political at all?
I think that we lived in a fairly normal, I'd say moderately conservative household. More than political, we loved America. I'm descended from someone that came over on the Mayflower, so I always had pride of country. I'm really well traveled. My mom took me all over the world, so I always had an appreciation for America. And we weren't so political. We talked a bit about the presidents and things, but we were not necessarily very far one way or the other.
Okay, but it's safe for me to characterize it as you weren't raised in a household that was traditionally Democrat or hardcore liberal or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, so then you go to college and you chose Mount Holyoke to go to college. What made you choose this college? It is a pretty liberal college. It's known for that.
It's also a really good school. It's incredibly academic. It's the first of the seven sisters. I got in and it was one of those kind of no-brainers. Like, this is such a good school. I have to go. They gave me a great financial aid package. I was recruited to play on the tennis team. I loved that it was a part of the other five colleges. So Amherst, UMass, Hampshire, Smith. It was kind of an amazing quintessential New England college campus and experience. So I was very excited about going there. And I didn't really know that it was so liberal, if you will. I just thought liberal arts meant I could explore a lot of different topics.
So when you got there, what was your first clue or what was the eye-opening experience when you realized, oh, wow, okay, the culture here is a little bit different than I thought?
So it started pretty quickly during orientation. Mount Holyoke is it's a women's college, but pretty quickly I was told that I can't assume someone's gender. We were given this little paper in all of our mailboxes that said, he may be she may be he, they could be them. Don't assume anything. Sexuality is a spectrum, gender is a spectrum. A lot of the student body and also a lot of the professors and the faculty were very androgynous. So I was kind of thrust into this environment of, gender is very fluid, and I had never heard that concept before. So that was kind of the first, like, whoa, what even is that? And I kind of thought it was funny, but I also didn't judge. I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I guess this is how college works.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is if you weren't raised in, a leftist environment and you get to college and you hear about this idea that gender is a spectrum and a girl can be a boy if they identify as a boy in these neo pronouns. I mean, did that seem like weird to you at first, or was it just so normalized on campus? Like, how did you handle that?
It was so normalized on campus that there wasn't really a grace period for you to question it. It was kind of immediately like you're meeting students who are transgender. You have classmates that are women, but they totally present as boys. And I entered school the fall of 2011. So that's years before any of this was really in the mainstream media. So I had no idea about any of this. Honestly, it was kind of fascinating. It was very like, oh, liberal arts, people are exploring themselves. And I was coming from a place of, I grew up going to church, like, love your neighbor, respect people, be kind, be open-minded. Maybe I wasn't questioning my gender, but I certainly wasn't going to judge you. And I didn't really understand how heavy of a self identity crisis it truly is. I was just like, okay, this is how people do things here.
Which perhaps is what they were hoping that you would do. The thing about your story that got me, one of the stories that you've told before is that they have like a ritual for girls freshmen who are incoming into this school where they try to bring you into this, I like the word you use, this androgynous type of behavior, and they actually encourage you to cut your hair.
Yeah, so we had this little ritual called the moho chop, where in your first semester of your first year, also, we were not freshmen, we were first years. That was drilled into us during orientation as well. They had the moho chop, where you would kind of ceremoniously like cut off all your hair. And a bunch of the students did it. And, power to them. I did not do it. I'm very grateful that I didn't. I certainly thought about it, but I still was kind of like, that's a little too far. But I think it was this idea of shedding who you were prior to walking on campus. And also it's this, stand up against the patriarchy. Again, another word I had ever heard until coming to school. I didn't understand that we were, this patriarchal society. I didn't know what that was. My mom, for the most part, my parents are actually divorced. My dad's they're back together. But for a lot of my life, my mom was a single mom, and I went to girls' schools growing up. So I always had leaders in my classes that were girls. So it never even occurred to me that we could be in this like evil man ruling society. But it was made pretty clear to me, like right as I stepped on campus.
Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.